like, I think you would be better off serving your time, attempting to use your intellect and your experience as a 7-year-old black man to work to dismantle the white supremacist structure that you and your generation left in place for our generation to defend ourselves from. If this is your first time or you are a regular viewer, welcome back. How are you doing? My name is Jasiri X. I am co-founder and CEO of One Hood Media. And to my immediate right,
it's a miracle.
I feel like we should make a whole track list with that being the intro, and then it could be all songs about me that y'all could do for your Friday hoodlums. Inspired by Miracle, now, ode to Miracle.
Now, the big question though, Miracle.
I will not be on the album.
No, the big question is,
I'm gonna start my own.
How are you feeling today? Because your favorite candidates, your favorite GOP candidates.
I feel like we could ease into it. Like, dang,
Tim Scott is engaged to be married now. Is that?
I mean, we don't like to talk about Kanye, but Kanye was right.
Was he right about Tim Scott? What he said? When he get on? Oh man!
But congratulations!
When he get on,
man.
30 years later, he'll finally when he sees that he has to clear up all these rumors about himself, he'll finally get a woman. And maybe he'll be Trump's vice president. We'll see. Unfortunately, Trouble's not here today. May he rest up, get better, all that other good stuff.
I thought he was about to say something else.
Me too. I was like, he's not gone.
Yeah, he's not.
Rest up, man.
Yeah, may he rest
Rest up. Trouble's still, he's just not here physically with us today. But shout out to Trouble, you know what I'm saying? We're going to miss your energy as always. And my brother.
Sad, angry, intermittently depressed.
Saeed.
Sad, angry, intermittently depressed. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Farouk, there is, thankfully you're sitting across from
a miracle, a blessing.
One of the premier advocates for black men in mental health. Miracle.
That's
Brunch with a Black Man founder. You know what I'm saying?
It's a miracle.
Yes, absolutely. So
we'll help you work through your depression.
Yeah, we're gonna help you. We're gonna help you. And speaking
to find
of
your maintenance line.
Yeah. Speaking of probably somebody else that's sad, angry, and intermittently depressed,
Can we get swag? I think that should be a shirt.
A Saeed shirt?
Sad, angry,
that's the one
depressed.
That resonated with you, huh? Yeah. Not Supreme Asiatic, Intelligently Divine.
I don't know what that means.
You felt like that didn't describe him. That wasn't accurate.
I would wear that as a shirt. Can you see it?
That would be dope. I'm not going to lie to you. Like
and the little sun looking down, sad,
angry, intermediately depressed. Well, again, one person who probably is very, very depressed. I don't want to call him friend, but probably maybe the worst campaign runner that we've seen in a very long time.
Not man like Pudding Fingers.
Ron DeSanctimonious.
Pudding Fingers.
Turned into Ron. They suspended his campaign. Sorry, Ron. It's a wrap.
Ron disqualified.
Ron disqualified.
Ron disgraced. Ron disengaged.
And again, like so many other before him, Ron DeSantis, even after a year-long beating that he took from Trump, being called Pudding Fingers, being called DeSanctimonious, Trump taking shots at his wife as well.
He took a knee.
Turned around. Oh yes, he took two knees.
Took two knees.
Oh immediately turned around and endorsed Donald Trump.
Turning around to endorse Trump is crazy.
Turning around on both knees. But I mean, I think that's what we're seeing,
There are
right?
children watching.
Yes. He thought, they said, he went from Donald Trump without the baggage to Ted Cruz without the charisma.
Ooh,
is what they were talked about. And so I guess, do you all have any response to, Don, remember he started off with all this money.
Yeah.
All this momentum. And then
it looked good for him. Initially, like we honestly thought, toward the middle of 2023, DeSantis had this race to lose.
Well, right, like that he was the like if anybody was going to be president if Trump went to jail,
right, it was going to be DeSantis.
Right, that
he
it
was passing legislature. He was making actionable changes in the wrong way, but
1,000%.
still putting things in practice.
Yeah, right, he was suing Disney.
Right,
he was banning books.
He was he became like a right wing media darling for like 7 minutes.
True, he was turned Florida into like a white supremacist utopia.
Nazi Germany with palm trees.
Right, but then you had a white supremacist mass shooting. That kind of takes a little bit of the shine off of what you're trying to do. You know what I'm saying? Particularly, remember when the NAACP said like black people don't go to Florida. And so now, I guess what's next? Miracle?
Well, they had the video of him come out of him eating, and it kind of gave credence to Trump saying he eats pudding with his fingers, man.
That is one of the craziest.
That's
stories.
the illest diss ever. Like, they said,
pudding fingers?
This nigga be on the plane eating Jell-O pudding cups without a spoon.
Throwing spoons away. Like,
just no utensils, just straight crazy.
Like, would you like a spoon, Mr. Governor?
That's unhinged, uncivilized behavior.
Yes. Miracle?
I think a part of this conversation is a little bit ableist in the sense that...
What, that he's putting fingers?
No, in the sense that this campaign was the first time Ron couldn't control the media and the media perception of him. So it started off with the boots.
Yes.
It just never stopped. And you were looking at his mannerism.
Yes.
How he was laughing, how he was standing.
Yes.
And people were like, this man does not have the ability to be president because he's just so awkward.
Very awkward.
People talk about Kamala's laugh, but like Ron's laugh was way worse.
Way worse.
And it was just
You're
weird.
Right.
And so I think that was a huge part of it because people got to see how he actually was.
Well, you remember when Trump made fun of differently abled people on his campaign and nobody said anything about it. So this is par for the course for Trump. Right. This is just a regular tactic for him.
But like you said, we've never, think about it. Like, it was like these little, his laugh was like super awkward and weird. And then when you slowed it down, he looked like a maniac. Ron DeSantis looked like a maniac. There was this whole narrative that never went away about like he had lifts in his boots to make himself taller.
I didn't know that.
It was the whole thing.
It was a whole thing.
How did I miss this?
And so, to me, you could have but he never did, right? And so there was always this thing of like this little man complex trying to be larger. And then of course,
how tall
fingers.
is he?
No one really knows.
Yeah, we don't know.
To the point, no one knows. To the point when he announced his campaign, there's this clip in the Barbie movie. I haven't seen the Barbie, but it went viral where she like takes off her shoes and is standing up, and then it's like stands normally because and they're like, this is Ron DeSantis now that he's suspended his campaign, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So like there's this ongoing conversation like who he is,
yes,
and Trump was over here like I'm fit. The fittest president ever. Look at me, whatever. And
they don't know my body.
They don't know niggas don't know my body, son.
They don't know my body, yo.
And so it's a weird. Like I'm happy Ron is not the president or a presidential candidate anymore. I think that he would have been way worse than Trump and more vile.
Yes.
I do feel bad for the people of Florida who now this man has to turn all his attention to. But again, y'all could have had Andrew.
Yeah.
Y'all just let a little bit of racism stop you. True. But it is what it is.
And like you said, I do agree. Like to me, it seemed like Ron DeSantis would have been a lot more punitive in terms of
which is crazy to think about.
Right. Particularly than Trump, who's basically talking about like day one, I'm going to be a dictator and, mad people are going to get arrested. You know what I'm saying? Like to think that like DeSantis would have been worse than that. But that was kind of the narrative he created. And like you said, he never came across as presidential. He never came across as somebody that was like looking to govern a United States for everybody. He was just like, he almost tried to be righter than Trump, you know, and whiter than Trump. And it just didn't work.
Here is a list, according to Rolling Stone, of all the things Trump said he was going to do when he gets into office. Are we ready? Yes. Indict Biden and his political enemies. That's number 1. Number 2, round up, intern, and deport undocumented immigrants. 3, send military to the border. 4, invade Mexico. For what? I have no idea. Round up the homeless and send the National Guard into cities to fight crime. Bring the death penalty back in, quote, a big way. And he will make stuff expensive by taxing all imported goods.
The Mexico thing is never going to happen. As someone who has had the privilege to travel to Mexico, do you know who travels the most to Mexico?
White people.
And Trump supporters.
Yes.
They love going, yes.
They love...
Because they like to be served by brown people. I mean, that's exactly. Kind of their whole thing.
It is wild because they love... Yeah. And they'll be in full Trump gear, and it's like, why are you here?
It's crazy.
His supporters would lose their minds.
True.
If he invaded Mexico.
That's true. And then this is the thing.
I mean, the golden Trump statue was made in Mexico.
But and then also, like, you can't on one hand say presidents should have immunity and then on the next breath say you're going to indict Joe Biden.
Right. There was more things on that list, but that was just...
Yeah, which is it? You know what I'm saying? And that's where... But again, it's like to his supporters, he can say anything. Anything he says, they believe it. They embrace it. They eat it up. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever he says is like law. You know what I'm saying? Yes, they eat it up, brother. It's very delicious.
He can do anything.
Right.
No, but I also think that Ron DeSantis, the most violent thing about him was that he was actually at Guantanamo, possibly overseeing some of the torture that was happening there.
Yeah.
And I believe it was HBO who may have pulled a special about that, and some other media reports ended up walking that back because they were afraid that if he actually was the president, he would take revenge on them.
Yes.
And this is the issue that we find ourselves now, is that a lot of our media is being bought out by corporations.
Right.
And so they do not feel comfortable in presenting or telling the truth. But now that Ron DeSantis is no longer in the running, all these articles about how horrible he is as a person are now coming out. And it's just like, bruh.
Too little, too late.
Yeah, it was kind of like George Santos, right? It wasn't until after he was elected that we found out he just lied his way to office, and it was
scam guy.
All the stuff came afterwards. Yes,
I miss George.
You miss his shenanigans.
I miss his shenanigans. First of all, like, I still want to know how he got a baby. Like, who gave this man a baby so he could like walk through Capitol, be like, I have a baby.
Yeah,
he traded a Fendi bag for a baby for the death.
But the fact that like he got indicted for wearing clothes that they said he stole, like this clothes, or used stole, but like use the funds. Yeah. And then he showed up with the shoes that they said that he bought.
The Ferragamos,
like,
yes.
Yeah, man.
I was like, okay, George. Like, I thought that was hilarious. But
he's standing on business.
I mean, well, he might be standing behind bars very, very shortly. We don't know. We will see. But of course, we're going to see all the documentary and see the behind the scenes. But, you know, in other news and other GOP, because, you know, today is
Orange Party.
Yes, the New Hampshire primary is underway, and Nikki Haley, and we talked about it a little bit last week, made news when she said America was never a racist country. And of course, people, not only like ourselves, but mad people came out and was like, what are you talking about? Like, and particularly like, how can you as a Indian woman whose
father had to teach at a HBCU,
right? Because he wasn't allowed. Why was that?
Right.
He was not allowed to teach white students at that time. So Nikki Haley went again, like just like with the slavery Civil War comment, went on the defense and went on CNN to, I guess, kind of further.
Do we even applaud CNN for allowing her the platform to defend herself?
CNN trying to struggle for ratings. CNN is like, look, we just want
they're
eyes
an
on
station
us
at this point.
Very much so, much so. So, but at least they asked her, and how what is this? Jack Tepper, I think that's his name. Yeah. How he said the question I thought was strong. So let's hear Nikki Haley, in her own words, defend her comment about America not being racist.
Said that America has, quote, never been a racist country, unquote. Protections for the institution of slavery were written into the U.S. Constitution. The White House was built with slave labor. Your home state of South Carolina seceded from the Union, fought a war to defend the enslavement of black people.
Yes.
I understand you don't think America is a racist country now.
Yeah. Which
but
is
we're here
also
at
a
a
lie.
college. Do you really think, as a historical matter, America has never been a racist country?
I mean, think about what you're saying. First of all, I will tell you, when you look at, the Declaration of Independence, it was that, men are created equal.
You mean the one that
with
said we were 3/5?
unalienable rights, right? That was what we all knew. But what I look
Except
at
black
it
people
as
who didn't have rights when
is
they
I
voted.
was a brown girl that grew up in a small rural town. We had plenty of racism that we had to deal with.
Oh, did you?
But my parents never said we lived in a racist country. And I'm so thankful they didn't. Because for every brown and black child out there, if you tell them they live or were born in a racist country, you're immediately telling them they don't
truth?
have a chance. And my parents would always say, you may have challenges. And yes, there will be people who are racist. But that doesn't define what you can do in this country. And so I think it's important that we tell all kids that, look, America is not perfect.
Yes.
We have our stains. We know that. But our goal should always be to make today better than yesterday. It's hugely important. And
but
that's
you
the
can't
problem.
do that. You can't make today better than yesterday. One,
And deny the past.
if you deny yesterday, right? If
Yeah.
you act like yesterday's racism doesn't exist, and if you act like today's racism doesn't exist.
Right.
Right. So you can't make it better if you don't even acknowledge that there's white supremacy that exists right now, racism that exists right now. And, again, like, if America was not a racist country, why are you using the name Nikki? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, come on, man. Like, this isn't even a thing, right?
I would say what's interesting about this, and I don't see her speak a lot.
Yes.
But they put darker makeup on her this time.
Oh, you think so?
They played up her brownness in here, like with the foundation. So they were definitely trying to do something strategic with the whole look. So I see what you're trying to do there.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, they talked about, like, in her own memoir, she talks about how, a fruit stand called the police on her father because he was wearing a turban, right? So she talked about these racist things and acts that happened to her, right? Her father worked at, quote, the black school, right?
Oh, that doesn't sound like a post-racial America.
Right. So, like, in your own memoir, you talked about, but what's changed from when you wrote your memoir to now? You're running for the nominee in a openly racist party.
Right.
In a party that you can't even say slavery was the reason of the Civil War. You can't even acknowledge, like, historical white supremacy and racism that exists. And so, I mean, so it's almost like you're hamstrung. And because you are an Indian woman, you're even downplaying your Indianness, right? Mm-hmm. You even have to downplay that part of your life to appeal to these white supremacist voters. Miracle?
So I'm not saying America is a racist country, but
Yes.
I'm going to read what Chief Justice Taney said in the infamous Dred Scott decision, just in case,
Yes.
Nikki would like to read and remember about the Declaration of Independence.
Yes.
In the opinion of the court, the legislation and histories of the times and the language used in the Declaration of Independence show that neither the class of persons who have been imported as slaves nor their descendants, whether they become free or not, were then acknowledged as a part of the people, nor intended to be included in the general words used in that memorable instrument. I'm not saying
Yes.
that America is a racist country.
Yes.
But I'm saying the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court at that time said
Yes.
the Declaration of Independence in no such thought or manner believed that black people in any way, shape, or form were represented in the Declaration of Independence. So
Yes.
I don't know what school Nikki
Yes.
went to, and I don't know her interpretation of the law, but I think it's pretty clear that America was, and continues to be a racist country. Just because people tell their children to withstand or overcome racism does not mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
My mom telling me not to put my hand on the stove because it's hot
Yes.
doesn't mean the stove is not hot.
Yes.
Doesn't mean the stove is not there. It means my parents have given me the skills and fortitude to overcome and to know the stove is hot. You don't touch it.
Yes.
And that is the problem with these conversations when we say like, hey, we don't want to talk about race or racism doesn't exist. We try to pretend like it's not going to be there. But if you teach your child that racism does not exist, what are you equipping them with to handle when they're called slurs for the first time? When they're told you're too black or too brown or too whatever to be in this institution? If you tell them something does not exist, you are failing to equip them and prepare them to overcome those hurdles. And it's a difference of opinion and worldview about how you train and raise up your children. But racism exists. It's in our laws. It's why we don't have sidewalks in black neighborhoods. It's why we only put infrastructure through black neighborhoods to tear it down. It's why we don't have expansive public transportation. It's why we don't have high-speed rail. Right. So when we're talking about racism and in this country particularly, we have to be very honest that not only does it exist, it has guided the whole entire framework from which our politicians operate from.
Yeah.
This election specifically, even though they've dropped out like the Furious Five that exists, was Trump, Ramaswamy, Scott, Haley, and DeSantis, all ran on different but similar versions of white supremacy.
True.
And rhetoric that embellishes racism and embraces racism. Nikki trying to deny it, even though she had to change her name, like you said, from Nimrata to Nikki. Vivek Ramaswamy using his, access to white supremacy because has money, thinking it was going to protect him. Tim Scott saying he's never encountered racism, even though he's a black man from South Carolina.
Right.
Donald Trump then going to antagonize Nikki Haley by calling her real name, which is a dog whistle to incite xenophobic attacks against brown people.
Yes.
Is its own unique and insidious form of a white supremacy tactic. And then Ron DeSantis basically, like we said on here before, turning Florida into Nazi Germany with palm trees. They've all used different aspects and different tools of white supremacy to further their campaign to the White House, because that's what they believe it is built off of. That's what they believe is going to make them successful, is white supremacy.
And that's really because that's the base that Trump built, right?
Absolutely.
That's what propelled Trump into the White House in 2016.
And like a sensationalized version of it, because it existed before him.
Absolutely. Like you said, and just to correct you around Donald Trump, and it'd be interesting to see how Nikki Haley describes these new attacks of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not using her name. And Donald Trump is purposely not using her. Her name is Nimrata. Right. So in the first,
I thought he was calling her Nimrata.
Oh no. In the first days, he started to call her Nimrata.
Okay.
Nimrata. Now he's referring to her as Nimbra.
That's just disrespectful.
Well, to me, it sounds kind of like nigga. Nimbra, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, come on, man. This is Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? If one thing Donald Trump knows how to do is attack in a racist way. He did it to Obama. You know what I'm saying? He did it to
my African American here.
Yes, he did it to Kamala Harris. Like, he knows how to attack people around racism. And so to refer to her as Nimbra, on his Truth Social, knowing that it's in her name, right? Just like he's been on the campaign trail saying, Barack Hussein, like, he knows his base. And like, to call her Nimbra is like throwing like raw meat to these white supremacists, you know what I'm saying? And so it'll be interesting to see. I don't think she's said anything about her. She said, this was her quote. If he goes and does these temper tantrum, if he's going and spending millions of dollars on TV, he's insecure. He knows that something is wrong. I don't sit there and worry about whether it's personal or what he means. But this is a racist attack. So that is what's fascinating about what's happening right now. What you have
man, you ain't need that on your mind.
What the fuck you know about what I need on my mind, motherfucker? My name was on the street.
What in the world is wrong?
When you bounce from this shit here, I'm gonna go down in them corners, let them people know.
My name is my name.
Right.
My name is my name.
But Nikki can't even have that energy.
Right, she can't. Because she's Nikki.
Yes, she doesn't want you to call her Nimarata.
No.
She doesn't want to be, referred to in that manner of what her real name is. Barack embraced his name. Earlier he was Barry. He embraced his name,
right,
Barack. Yeah. Kamala, embraced her name. He said Barack's not qualified to run for office. He said Kamala wasn't qualified to run for office. Now he's saying Nikki, or how he calls her Nimbra. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Nimbra?
crazy.
Come on, man. That's nigga. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. Is not qualified to run for office, even though she was born in South Carolina. So, Miracle. This is, it's worked before. It's probably going to work, right?
Against Nikki Haley?
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay.
Only because, remember, when Don Lemon tried to go up against Nikki Haley,
but he played himself.
Yeah.
he did play himself a little bit. So I think she's smarter, only because she has grown up with people like Trump her whole entire life.
That is true.
Life,
She's
right?
from South Carolina.
She's from South Carolina. She knows how to play the game.
She probably married to somebody like Trump.
She knows what's coming. And
Yes.
And it'll be interesting to see how she plays the race card in this situation when it's very clear that she is uncomfortable with publicly being associated with race. And there are some people who I've always said who immigrate to the United States and they don't want to be othered, right?
Mm-hmm.
They find safety and security and success and not being othered.
Yes.
And that's the thing that they resent the most is you
1,000%.
reminding them of quote unquote who they are, what their real names are.
Come on,
And
Miracle.
people have a right to change their name, right?
Yes.
I'm not going to act like I understand it because I have a unique name that I understand what it means to have a uniquely ethnic name, right?
Yes.
People change their names all the time. We don't know how to pronounce people's names. Kids are cruel. Like people don't know how to play the dozens.
Thanks for reminding me. Yes.
I fully
feel you.
I get her changing her name and going by Nikki. Yeah. But this is going to be a very unique time in our history because for all intents and purposes, Nikki has always chosen white supremacy. When she was the governor of South Carolina, she could have called an emergency session and say, hey, we just had this shooting. We got to take this Confederate flag down, at least put it at half mast. People don't remember after the shooting at AME where those 9 lives were slaughtered in a white supremacist attack. The rules of South Carolina said you are never allowed to mess with the flag unless the South Carolina legislature votes on it. So when people all across the country were putting their flags at half staff, the South Carolina, which was the Confederate flag, was just waving and people were like, take it down. They refused. So Bree Newsom had to scale up. I don't know what you call the thing, the whole flag,
the flagpole.
The flagpole and take the flag down. Right. And in that time, she denounced Bree. She denounced the activists. She has always denounced people of color rising up and pushing back. This is her moment, really, as a make or break for her. And it's going to be kind of karma if this is what torpedoes her campaign.
True.
But I do think she has the brilliance to push back against Trump. I don't know. She's already said, he's not there. He's insecure. She does her own little personal digs at him. So it'll be interesting to see how she pushes back. I do think she can overcome it. But what's going to get her is the fact that she's acting like racism doesn't exist. And Trump was like, hey, even I say slavery is the cause of civil wars.
True.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Now,
not fun like as in a good time, but like fun as in like interesting to see.
Interesting to see.
Out.
I wonder if she would have her husband come out and try to defend her. Like,
that would be interesting.
Like when I married Nimarata, she used to cook a lot of smelly foods.
Stop. That's not okay.
But she built my spice tolerance up, and now because she built my spice tolerance up, I have tolerance. See how that works?
I don't think this how that. No,
wow.
Too far.
Wow.
That was very too far.
Wow. Nimarata.
I think it's also we didn't dance around the topic, but we also know that there is rampant anti-blackness.
Yes.
Come on.
Within the Indian community.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And they definitely be darker than us.
Well, again, and it with other darker, within
the brown community,
right.
They have
The
words.
caste
They have a
system.
caste system.
Yes,
they have
absolutely.
words for darker people.
Absolutely,
and
yes.
specifically the Tamils of Sri Lanka,
right,
catch all of the hell for being the darkest, the most melanated.
True.
And they catch hell.
And a lot of the undesirables are darker skinned people.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And even though they say that's based on your job and your caste.
I mean, that's in Bangladesh, it's in Pakistan, it's in India,
There is a color chart.
Yeah. And,
as my favorite, Andre said, all across the globe, the darker skinned people get it the worst.
And Nikki fared much better than Vivek. And as a lighter
I wonder
Indian,
what the conversations between them two was like.
She despised
they
him.
hated each other.
And you could tell because it was kind of like, why are you disrespecting us on this great stage? Because I'm trying to be respectful, but we all know those type of people.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to be the only person in the room and go around disparaging other people so they can stay the only person. Yes. And that was kind of the Vivek energy.
Correct. Correct.
Nikki is more of, yes, I happen to be a person of brown experience that happen to be Indian. Yes. But that doesn't define who I am.
Right.
And I can move. You know how Drea was like, you can outgrow your wholeness?
Yes.
Like Nikki's kind of like, you can outgrow your ethnicity.
And she has,
like The Rock has.
Particularly when you can go by the name Nikki Haley.
Right. Yeah. But The Rock is very interesting because he co-opts in and out of his blackness.
He absolutely does.
And he will remind you that he is not white pretty readily.
Yes.
While also
I'm Samoan.
While also being like
black and Samoan,
Well, he always says that, I'm Samoan.
He's like Samoan, but will also remind you that he's not white at the same time.
Correct.
It's a very unique skill.
Yes.
Because he knows how to play the game. Yes. But I will give The Rock credit because he also uses his platform to help other people who come from disadvantaged experiences.
Yes. Yeah.
And doesn't really disparage people from the. Whereas a Nikki is like,
you don't see The Rock tear anybody down. Like, he doesn't use his platform for negativity.
Bootstraps, these immigrants are coming through and taking your jobs. That narrative,
and it's not like you see Nikki like helping other Indian people, right? Nikki's kind of like, I'm for these white folks, and the rest of y'all get it how you live. However, Nikki did go on the attack to Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump had like a senior moment, right? Donald Trump had a moment, and I don't know if you have that clip, where he appeared to confuse Nikki Haley and Nancy Pelosi. I guess they both start with the N-word. I don't know. But he had that moment. So did you want to play that clip?
They never report the crowd on January 6th. Nikki Haley, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything, deleted and destroyed?
He looks wild sweaty in this
all
clip.
of it, because of.
You have a hot flash, this Trump?
Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people, soldiers, National Guard, so whatever they want. They turned it down. They don't want to talk about.
Do you think that was him mistaking it or him actually doing that on purpose?
That's a great question. Is this Trump?
Is this a tactic?
Calculatedly trying to put them together? I don't know. Nikki's response was, they're saying he got confused, that he was talking about something else. He's talking about Nancy Pelosi. He mentioned me multiple times in that scenario.
Nikki.
The concern I have, and I'm not saying anything derogatory, but when you're dealing with the pressure of the presidency, we can't have someone else that we question whether they're mentally fit to do this.
And that was a very calculated, but I would say seasoned response to that.
Told you she's
smart. She definitely has,
because she knows she's going to need like Trump's base.
Absolutely.
If she wins this, now I don't think she will.
It was an intelligent rebuttal.
But now this is what Trump's campaign said. They said it's a distinction without a difference. It's Nikki and Nancy. What's the difference?
Well, so Nancy had on kente cloth. Nancy had
Nancy
Nikki
was
had the
Speaker of the House.
Flag.
That's a pretty big difference, right? Yeah. Kente cloth and Confederate flag.
I mean, at this point, they're kind of interchangeable for those two people.
And obviously, it's a difference. There was a clip that's going around now where on Newsmax is interviewing Carrie Lake. and they're like, both, Donald Trump and Joe Biden is old. She's like, Trump isn't an old man. The man is 77. Yeah. He's old. And so we've seen these moments of Trump on the campaign trail where he has had these senior moments and, mistakes and, misfortunes. Do you think this is going to possibly sink his campaign? Miracle?
There have been some rumblings that he's not doing well.
Yes.
I mean, he got 91 felonies. Niggas looking at wild jail time and then trying to run a re-election campaign.
True.
If it is true.
Yes.
And it's not that I ever hope for misfortune.
Of course.
For anyone, right? Yes. I want to be very clear.
We're not hoping for no misfortune.
I think that if both of our top contenders happen to have medical scenarios.
Yes.
I think it would be better for the country.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because then we get to restart.
Oh, wow.
And just pick better candidates.
Just shake the Etch a Sketch.
You said it's us or them, right?
It's not us or
it's
them.
either they go down or we go down. Wow.
No, I just think that both Trump and Biden have serious health issues.
Yes.
And after what has happened with, I forgot the lady from California. Feinstein.
Dianne Feinstein. Yeah. Right. After what happened with Mitch McConnell, where he just freezing in the middle of a question, staring blankly. You know what I mean?
Like we say, you have to be 30, 35 to run for some of these offices.
Yes.
I believe there should be a cutoff.
Yeah.
I think there should be a cutoff. I think you should be able to do the good work and retire.
Yes.
And reflect on the good work that you have done and moved on. We have seen how some of our elder leaders, and this includes Bernie, right?
Correct.
Are not really training up people to come after them.
Correct.
Are not really engaged in the community, are not really impacted. No. And I do think that for some of these issues, you have to be impacted. Student loan debt isn't touching the majority of these folks who are running in office.
Of course.
The clean air.
Shit, they were students in 1939.
The lead in the water. These issues aren't impacting them. They're not seeing the way it shows up in our community.
Lead in the water was like made it flavorful back in their day.
It's Kool-Aid.
Put a little more lead in this water. Actually, sprinkle some asbestos in this as well.
I think there's something to be said for getting more people in the political process.
Yes.
So I'm not saying like maybe there could be an advisory position.
Yes.
Maybe there could be more advisory councils. Like I think it'd be cool to have a council of former presidents advising you. But like, I'm not trying to end Guantanamo. So I'm trying to like make sure I explain this correctly.
No,
I'm not wishing bad on anyone.
Of course,
I do wish people like, you know what? Maybe it's time for the next generation. Maybe term limits are okay to have.
Yeah, what we're wishing is like for them to like step like what I would wish is they recognize like that this ain't it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like and begin and like you said, choose somebody younger, step back. You can help them, but like step back from the pressures and because it is a rigorous campaign, the pressures of the campaign. Although Trump, he got Vivek's endorsement, he got Ron DeSantis' endorsement, and he got Tim Scott's endorsement. And Tim Scott actually had an interesting quote in his endorsement of Donald Trump. Did you want to play that?
Yeah, I'll play Mushmouth.
We need a president who understands the American people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. Wow.
It's almost like Trump was like, hey, look, I need you. You're black. You got to sound black.
Who understands
sick and tired.
People are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yo, he looks crazy.
He looks crazy. And for those that don't know, that is a famous quote from Fannie Lou Hamer, right?
Yeah.
So again, here is a black man who basically said that slavery wasn't that bad, right? No. That the current conditions,
welfare was worse than slavery.
Welfare is worse than slavery. And Miracle always talks about how they appropriate our language, taking the language of Fannie Lou Hamer, who fought against white supremacy, who fought against racism, at her own, risking her own life. And now you're trying to use that as a Trump campaign slogan?
I really hope our press request for the Trump campaign goes through. Like, I really hope we're able, because my thing is, you're getting all these black people again now to like rally around you.
Yes.
What is your plan for civil rights? The John Lewis Voting Rights Act.
Correct.
You said you've done everything you can for black people.
Yes.
So why should black people vote for you, right? And this is all, like, we have press requests to all presidential candidates.
Yes.
It's up to them to pick or choose, like, whether they want to sit down with us. But I'm just, like, very curious what goes through the mind of a man who's like, I've done all I can for black people. Like, you said, what more do you want? Like, I'm very confused.
And well, again, like, if the black people you're around are Tim Scott, like, if you're around, and I'm surprised, Trump, who is very good with the nicknames.
Yeah.
I'm very surprised. Like, Gums was right there. Like, Gums Scott was like right there for you to just like coin him.
Tim Bucktooth.
Oh shit!
But I also think
this is why he hates black people. This is why Tim Scott doesn't like black people, because people like us made fun of him his whole life.
Oh man, because his wife looked like she smelled like chicken soup, man. She looks like a can of Campbell soup with a sweater jacket.
But I mean,
she looks pretty.
But look, Trump is around these black people, and like the black people around Trump are like, on both
Trump
knees.
would have flamed him up at the last table.
Hold on, before we start again, I'm gonna say
Tim Bucktooth.
Before we go down the line again, I think that the people that Trump has aligned himself with are people who needed something from him.
Of course, you said that before.
In the sense that the majority of the black men were people.
What's the dental plan like at Congress?
Hold on, let me finish talking. The people who he released through the First Step Act, the black people he released through getting the pardon. And I think it goes to show you how incarceration is weaponized so much against the black community, to the fact that we have to be embedded with white supremacists as a means and method and modus operandi to get our people free.
That nigga's Gums is incarcerated in his mouth.
Farouk. I am making a point here that is very good.
His teeth is making a point too.
Van Jones talks about the most black people freed in the modern era came from the First Step Act, which was pushed by Trump.
That is correct.
And I think we have to have a real conversation about the freedom we are being afforded as black people. If incarceration is so embedded in our society and our particular community that the only way we're able to engage and get freedom and get our quote unquote walking papers is if a Republican says, okay, you can go home now.
No, that's a real
especially since 46 is the one that was one of the architects of mass incarceration, and we really have to have these conversations. Well, are y'all done now?
Well, yes.
No, because I have a whole list of jokes that are rebuttals.
But speaking of 46, Miracle.
That's the number Teeth Tim Scott.
I tried.
See?
I tried.
No trouble. That's what happens. No trouble. We go off the rails.
Could you imagine what the dentist would say when he walked into the office?
Oh my goodness. He's going to run the fade on y'all. Oh my goodness.
You brought up Joe Biden. You brought up President Biden. And, free speech shared your clip where you gave, to me, the greatest advice for Joe Biden's presidential campaign. If you have not watched the last episode,
you've given campaign advice to like everybody.
And nobody ever takes
it. But this was very
good advice.
Yes, and this was very detailed. It was very specific. But Joe Biden had another plan. Joe Biden went to North Carolina. Joe Biden said, "I know what black people like. They like some cookout." Went and got some fast food. Took it to a black family's house and had dinner with a black family
with styrofoam. Styrofoam is not good for us, Joe.
What's this?
This is the video. The Joe Biden.
Oh, it's the video. Oh,
yeah, man.
Okay. This is Biden. He visited a family. So, hold on. Let me read from Biden's words.
Okay.
Yesterday in North Carolina, I stopped by Eric's house to have some lunch with him and his two sons. I brought some cookout. Like, yo, hey, Joe, can we get some steaks up in this bag?
Can we get some
steak,
student loan
lobster?
reduction? Can we get some reparations?
I bought him some Chick-fil-A.
Nah,
Like,
but
come
I'll
on.
get you these ribs.
Yes, I bought.
I mean, no hate on the cookout. But
Yes, no hate on the cookout. I've never had. I'm sure
Me
it's
neither.
amazing. They were an impressive family. Eric is an award-winning educator, and his sons are both athletic and academic all-stars. We talked about the importance of family, building intergenerational wealth, the state of our schools, and I gave his oldest son, Christian, a couple of tips on what he should get for his first car. Eric had a lot of student loan debt forgiven. And well, his tip was a Ford Model T. His first car, Joe. I'm sorry. He said Eric had a lot of student loan debt forgiven, and he told me what a big deal it was for him and his boys. I go to work for families like Eric every day, hardworking folks who want to leave something behind for their kids. I love the time I spent with them. Thanks, Eric, for hosting me. Come by our place next time.
anyways,
Yeah, I mean, it's
black men are considered to be one of the communities in play for this election.
Of course.
And so you'll see the president and other people with black men.
Yeah.
And again, we are, as black people, are not the main characters
Right.
of this country, but still, they keep trying to like use us. So I will say,
let me let you finish. My fault. Miracle, go ahead. Go.
I will say, as black people, get everything you can this election cycle.
Get all the cookout.
Get all the
get the Delta plans. Get everything.
All the free meals.
Get everything that you want, need, and desire. Make them pay you a coin.
Yes.
Get all the money, because you're not going to see any of these people for the next 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a fact.
So do what you can.
They're going to disappear. Well, so, Biden and Harris tweeted out, some of their resume. Over 14 million jobs added. Mm-hmm. Historically low unemployment. 3 of the strongest years ever for small business creation. Fought to cancel $137 billion in student loan debt and delivered relief to over 3.7 million Americans. Today, the Dow Jones was at historic highs. So, I mean, this is, it sounds like on paper when you're reading, like it doesn't feel like that.
Why do you keep trying to make me fight Biden on this podcast?
No, it sounds good, but I'm just saying. He's kicking his resume down. He's saying, we got rid of, because we've talked a lot about student loan debt.
That's like 5% of all the student loan debt.
I didn't know. Really? Is that small?
Such a small amount.
Wow.
We're billions in debt for a student loan.
We are. And yes, I am happy for the people who got student loan debt forgiven.
Yes.
I'm number one. Number two, the people who have so far gotten student loan debt forgiven are people who were exploited by a lot of private colleges and universities, people who've already paid,
is there a prerequisite list that?
Yes.
Okay.
And so the demand was universal automatic student loan debt cancellation, canceling everybody's student debt, just basically pushing a button and saying this does not. No, go about your business, do good work. But instead it's been incremental. And what we're being told is every couple of weeks, another batch of people.
Because they just did a batch.
I hate the lottery system. I feel like it's racist and bigoted.
True.
It's very problematic. And it's also, not right, because people are not supposed to be in lotteries. But that's how they're doing. And people are talking about, it's basically you're going to get ramped up until the election. And yay, great. But it also shows if you can do these ramp ups of good things, you could have been done it. And you could have been allowed people to make next steps and to do all of this work. And so I'm trying to be positive.
Yeah. I mean, I think that
I just want to be on the beach. I just remember very distinctively in May of 2022 being like, you know what? The earth is in a good place right now.
Yes.
Like the horizon looks optimistic.
Looked really good. Yeah.
And I feel like we're going to get all of these wins, and it's going to be a good year.
And it was.
It's going to be a good world.
Yeah.
Like stuff is like,
yes.
And now here we are.
Right. Every race we won. But that was when Biden had said, he said, I'm only doing this one term. And the thinking was that it was going to be passed along, but, he wants to finish the job and,
we're all going to die.
Maybe, again, hey.
JK, we're all going to live. We're all going to make it.
Hey,
we're all
Joe,
going to survive.
if you want to stop by, where would he stop if he comes to Pittsburgh? He
can sit right here because I won't be here.
What restaurant does he stop by? Does he?
Grandma B's.
Grandma B's. He's going to bring some Grandma B's.
He's going to go to Grandma B's.
Breakfast. Today I met with One Hood. We had some Grandma B's.
He's going to talk to the
meeting with us.
We had Salim's Market.
He's going to hit every single Muslim.
We got some hummus. You know what I'm saying? From Salim's.
Within this area.
Big Biden Bubba Ganoush.
Listen.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
But no, I do think that there has to be a conversation.
Yes.
About the realities of the world and what we're fighting for and what we can do different.
Yes.
And outside of policing and prisons. Because,
True.
there was a conversation about, there's a cop city being built in Pittsburgh. There's now a cop city being built in Baltimore.
Wow.
There's like 15 cop cities popping up. And if we are getting all of these wins, why is everybody about to be arrested and in jail? Like,
right.
what does our future look like?
It doesn't, particularly when homicides are at historic lows all over the country,
right? Yeah.
Including Pittsburgh, where our homicide rate dropped 30%. So it is fascinating to see homicides go down, violent crimes go down, and yet this media narrative that everywhere that there's black and brown people is somehow unsafe. You know what I'm saying? Now, we got another email. Last week we got an invitation.
Is it from Tim?
No.
Oh,
I meant to email him and tell him we talked about him, but I forgot. You know what I'm saying? This is from Ronald Jackson. First of all, it says this week in white supremacy, and I just wanted to let Ronald know, it's not a place, right? It's not this week in, right? You can't come and stay. It's it's INN. I don't know why.
Okay. I was trying to figure that out. Yeah.
White supremacy. So here it is. I watch your podcast on Free Speech TV, and you make some good points and are often very informative. As an older black man, 70s, okay?
He about to cuss us out.
I would have thought by now we would have eliminated the use of the N-word from our discussions. Nigga,
please.
Stop. Number, please. I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. Think about the contradiction on a show.
Come on, Ronald.
On a show supposedly about white supremacy that banters about the N-word. It isn't hip or cool or funny. You're 70 years old. Of course it isn't hip to you, man.
Yeah. Who says hip?
You know what I'm saying?
You need to get your hips checked.
Stop. Don't disrespect. No. We are not disrespecting elders. That's that side.
Oh, no.
Listen. I'm going to send Tim Scott to nip at your heels.
Get my color chart out my pad.
Wait. This is what he says.
Don't fuck with me, Ron.
It isn't him.
Don't talk to
or
him
cool.
like that.
Don't watch me watch TV.
Mr. Jackson. It's Mr. Jackson. Be
respectful.
He says it isn't hip or cool or funny. In fact, it mimics the lowest strata of black society.
Okay, Ronald.
The criminals and the ignorant, and the bespeaks a degree of self-hate that only the psychiatrist can explain. I can't imagine all those people who came before and marched and suffered and were jailed and killed would say, I'm proud of that, and this is why we did it. This is where we hoped we would be in 2024. If a white man called you the N-word, you would consider yourself ill-used and be ready to fight. Why? Why, Farouk? Why, Saeed? Man, do you perpetrate it? Wait. At what point do we set an example for the young ones? If leaders do not take responsibility, how do we ever eliminate the word and indeed the thought associated with it makes us second-class citizens deserving of being treated like the other? I don't believe that cop out that when we use it with each other, it's okay because we don't mean it in a racist way. It is part of maintaining the plantation mentality and dehumanizing others. The other aspect of this is that shows a level of immaturity and a lack of seriousness.
Why are you still talking?
Oh, that's fact, because we are immature.
That you can put your work into question. It's time to co-sign that word to the dustbin of history.
So you want to have a funeral for this word like Oprah did?
If you have the urge to use it, stop and ask yourself, why is that the correct word? Does it uplift someone or denigrate them? Or are you just trying to appeal to a certain segment? And for what reason?
Well, come on, brother Ronald. He said have some class.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson.
Ronald said
for real.
Here's the thing. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to sit here.
He's not talking to you, and don't talk to Mr. Jackson like that. I think it'd be very interesting. I think it'd be very interesting to actually have that conversation with older.
Have a Zoom with Mr. Jackson?
No, with older civil rights icons, because I remember we brought Angela Davis was at event here in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And one of the people were like in a mini dress. And you could just see like just like, huh. And I feel like sometimes it's interesting to get like some of our elders in a room and be like, is this what you fought for?
Right.
Or is this what you thought? And I think it's very honest because like I believe as black people we can say nigga. I believe
absolutely.
How we colloquially talk is always going to be scrutinized because there's always a fear that something that we say or do is going to be weaponized to justify our dehumanization. I wrestle with like how much you be your authentic self in public, but at the end of the day, I think you just gotta be yourself. People have their own conversations, their own words that they use to talk, about other people. White people talk about other white people horribly.
Absolutely.
And so we say the N-word. We do try to like reduce it when we're on free speech so that like, we don't get buzz.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm gonna be me.
Our former colleagues told him he was too light to say the word, and I said, "Oh."
So Farouk, you obviously have smoke.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like
Mr. Jackson,
I don't want to use this platform to address another black person like that.
Yes,
but what I will say is, shut the fuck up, nigga.
Don't call it. Whoa, no.
Yo, Mr. Jackson gonna come through the door one day
with a switchblade.
Listen,
it's swing on you with his cane.
The respectability politics arguments.
It's not respectability politics. He's saying he has a problem with the word. But you don't got to use it to talk if you know he don't like it.
Miracle.
Just say this is how I talk. This is my vernacular. This is how I communicate.
But don't find your way to my show and tell me how to talk on my show. Like if you don't like it, don't watch.
Oh wow. Well, this is the thing. This is my
watch
piece.
for me. You can edit. Get some of your friends to edit them out, and then you can watch for me, Mr. Jackson.
This is my.
I try not to say it in public.
This is my issue.
Off the record, I'd be like, these ends are crazy.
And this is my issue with Mr. Jackson. Right. This is my issue. Right.
He wrote a nice letter. He said,
"You 70 years old."
He wrote a Bill Cosby essay. That's what he did.
Definitely.
He tried to chastise us and sit us down. I'm not trying to hear that shit.
And again, it's kind of similar to what we talked about, Tim.
Yes.
You've been watching this show.
Right.
You've watched us talk time and time again.
And that's what stuck out to you, was the usage of the N-word.
Wait. Time and time again, example after example of systemic racist policies, acts that are harming our community, us harming him, you know what I'm saying? As a 70-year-old black man, you see the current condition of our community, which we show you every week, right? Mm-hmm. Videos, articles.
Almost 200 weeks now.
And
see, Mr. Jackson.
Damn, the spirit of Mr. Jackson.
It's a miracle.
It's like when on the Boondocks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When like
Stink Meter
came into me. But again, it's like back to my point, Mr. Jackson. Like, to me, like, I think you would be better off serving your time, attempting to use your intellect and your experience as a 70-year-old black man to work to dismantle the white supremacist structure that you and your generation left in place for our generation to defend ourselves from, right? Your generation didn't want separation. You wanted integration.
That's it.
You wanted to taste that bland raisin-filled food, right? You fought to it, right? And what we experienced when we came into these white areas, right? And these white places were straight racism. And the way we protected ourselves was to say, we're going to be authentically us, right? Hip hop came out of that struggle of poverty.
Come on, like,
of economic insecurity in the Bronx, New York, right?
Let's go.
That gave us a voice to speak truth to power. And one of the main people that was against hip hop, which is now the #1 genre in the country, which has created hundreds of thousands of black multimillionaires, was old brothers like you, Mr. Jackson.
Absolutely. Like your
idea. Yes. So I would say this, Mr. Jackson, you should be happy that you turned on Free Speech TV.
And you've seen some illustrious niggas doing some illustrious nigga shit.
But you saw a group of younger black people talking about the issues, discussing it in an intellectual way, you know what I'm saying? Doing the work that we're doing. If you Google One Hood and you look at the work that we do every day in Pittsburgh, specifically for our community to make Pittsburgh a better place, a safer place. Mr. Jackson, the first thing you should have did is went to onehood.org and gave us some type of donation for the work that we do in our community. That's the first thing that you do. So we uplift people every day, Mr. Jackson. And you know what? We do it not by writing emails, but by going into our community, speaking to people that was left behind by your generation, Mr. Jackson, and doing the real work every day. So I would invite you to join us in the work, right? Right. When you see, don't be critical of, because if you join us in the work, if you said, hey man, I like what y'all young people are doing, you know what I'm saying? You know, give me a call at the time and you became friends with us and a mentor to us. And then you gave us some advice like this. We respect it. But if this is the first time you decide to communicate with us and it's all on critique about one word that we're using, not about all of the information that we're giving our community to prove the existence of white supremacy, then to me, Mr. Jackson, you are being a tool of white supremacy, the very white supremacy that we are fighting every day.
If I may read an excerpt.
Before you start, I think also...
I'm tired of you interrupting me.
I want to lead into what you're about to say. I think before you start, there is this conversation that a lot of elders do have a problem with when we say the N-word. And I would argue that it is also imperative to sit there in your discomfort and think about what do you hear when we say it and who taught you to sit there and feel pain or anger or anguish when you hear it and compare it to the violence that a white person says when they say it. And also think about what it goes to reclaim something, to laugh and to use a word that you know can no longer have the power to hurt and harm and disparage your community. There is a conversation that we do have about what words we need to keep and how we need to move on from certain memories that are in our DNA. And so while I hear you, Mr. Jackson, I would also encourage you. And we have these conversations here. We have these conversations with our partners because there are other people who feel the same way you do. And the same thing we say to them and we're saying to you is we show up who we are. We show up with our language, with our colloquialisms, with our slang. And if this show is not for you and we as people are not for you, that is okay. But we also want you to take a moment and think about what is it about that language and that word and the words that we are using that doesn't sit with you? And what does it also mean when words that we use are used against us, whether it's with the RAP Act, with not passing the RAP Act or the RICO Act or these gang enhancements? How are our words still policed and weaponized against us
by you
and used to build incarceration, used to justify who is not worthy of support and respect, and how we are able to build within our community, intercommunally, to say, you know what, you use words that I don't like, but I still see you as a person. I still see you as my black brother, my black friend.
Yes.
And I'm assuming you wrote this email out of love, respect, and adoration for a fellow black person.
We hope so.
And so that's how I'm engaging you and just asking you, even at 70, I'm pretty sure you have lived a long life. You saw a lot of things, but just to take a second and just consider a different side. And thank you for watching and for caring to write to us.
Mr. Saeed.
I hope that when people from this generation speak about the importance of the N-word and whether or not we should say it, are you including LGBTQIA considerations for those black lives that deserve to be protected? Or is that not part of your original civil rights doctrine? That's the question I would like to ask. And then secondly, I would like to read an excerpt from a poem. Niggas in charge. Niggas at large. Niggas being great because that's just who we are. Niggas online. Niggas living fine. Ain't nothing more incredible than what's this in this nigga's mind. He
can't even get through it. This was Farouk's 2024 vision poem from his exercise. Did you want to finish?
No, it was. Yeah,
that was it.
I just read an excerpt. Yeah.
Well, I have a book that I think is perfect for you, Mr. Jackson. It's a book called "I Refuse to Condemn." Resisting Racism in Times of National Security. Is edited by Asim Qureshi. I refuse to condemn. And so, yes, this is something maybe that you can, cause it's all, it's always like we oh, they're doing it wrong. They're doing this. They're doing that. You know what I'm saying? We resisting racism in these times, Mr. Jackson.
Yeah.
So with that being said, do we have any?
I did want to say one thing.
Yes. Another, so Mr. Jackson or just
no, just in general. Yeah.
Yes.
Before we leave, rest in power, Tim Chimbeats Dorish, my brother, man. You're gonna be missed. I love you, man. I'm glad that you're not in pain anymore. Thank you for every contribution that you made to my career, every contribution you made to One Hood.
Yes. We
appreciate you. We miss you.
Absolutely, man. Rest in power, my brother. Miracle, you have any final words?
It is. What is today?
The 23rd of January.
It is the 23rd of January. Make sure you are registered to vote.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
Make sure you have taken the All In for Allegheny County survey.
Yes.
If you are a resident of Allegheny County.
Absolutely.
And, COVID is back. Well, it's always been here. But just make sure you're taking care of yourself, drinking your water, being with your family. There are still multiple genocides happening all over around the world. And so make sure you're just loving on the people that are in your community, because you literally don't know what's happening the next day, the next week, and just take some time to just love on people there. Tell your friends you love them, support them, and just chill, have some good time for yourself.
And one of those friends would be our brother Trouble in LS, who we want to get better soon. As well as my sister. I want you to get well soon. She watches the show all the time. So with that being said, we will see y'all next week. And hopefully we see you too, Mr. Jackson. Peace. One Hood.